Go ahead.
Mayor?
Oh, good morning. Okay. I think we should do a roll call, please.
Okay, this is a special council meeting of the Town of Bay Harbor Islands. We have posted a virtual notice advising everyone how to log in. I see we have some people from the public listening in. I'm gonna go ahead and I guess we're gonna skip the pledge.
No, we can do the pledge.
We can do the pledge.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to
Pledge
the
allegiance
flag
to
of the United States of America, which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Councilmember Sauber,
Here.
Councilmember Yaffe,
Here.
Councilmember Reed,
Here.
Councilmember Leonard,
Here.
Vice Mayor Fuller,
Here.
Mayor Bruder.
Here.
You have a quorum?
Yep.
The first item is the consent agenda.
I'll move it, Isaac.
Second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
No, it's be poll vote.
Oh, poll vote, okay. You want to read it, Marlene?
No,
No, it's a consent agenda.
Consent,
No.
it's consent,
Okay.
you don't have to.
Well, only because there's people
Okay.
listening in, but okay.
Councilmember Sauber,
4.
Councilmember Yaffe,
4.
Councilmember Reed,
4.
Councilmember Leonard,
4.
Vice Mayor Fuller,
4.
Mayor Bruder.
4.
Passes.
All right, item number 4, approval and selection of an executive recruitment firm for professional services to conduct a search for a town manager. We also asked the firms to provide an option for the same type of search for the town attorney.
Okay. Anybody?
I'll move it.
You're
I'll
what?
second it.
What are we
There's
seconding?
nothing to
There's
move.
three.
It's a discussion first to see who
Oh,
briefed.
first. Okay.
Right, there are 3 firms that submitted.
Right.
I think we should use the same firm that we've used in the past. We've had a good working relationship with them, and they know our town very well. I don't know how anybody else feels.
I'm going to say that this is Josh. I think we need to separate these 2 items. I don't like the idea of spending money right now for a search for town attorney. And I'm going to hit that one first. Let me explain why. First of all, this is not like a town manager where somebody is going to be a full-time employee, where they're going to be moving down here potentially or relocating in any manner. I think in the end, we're going to have the same companies, firms, persons that are going to be applying, whether we just do a standard advertisement or if we do a search. Doesn't change who's going to be local. That being said, I do think we have to, we are required to go ahead and advertise it, and that's fine. But I don't think we need to spend $20,000 just to get to the same point where we are now, which is to advertise it.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree with that. I mean, we said we were going to do the RFQ, and I know we've been, I guess, maybe delayed on that, with the current circumstances, but I see no reason why we can't just proceed with that at the appropriate time. As Josh said, we know the law firms basically, for the most part that are going to be submitting, and I don't think we need to spend money to do any type of search. So I would be opposed to that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you guys.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I agree.
So let's separate the 2. Let's do one for so we're going to put aside the portion that has to do with the attorney and just concentrate on our town manager. Is that all? Are we all in?
So how about this? I moved to hire Colin Benzinger just for the town manager position.
Any seconds?
Well, I'd like to understand what everybody's thought process are on each of the 3. I know you made a motion, but I'm looking at all 3, and I'm not really sure where we gain a benefit out of any of them. The lowest cost one is based in New Mexico, which is a little stressing, even though the main person who will be doing the search is based in Daytona. The other 2 have done some more local here, but they start getting slightly more expensive. And I just wanted everybody's thought process on why they like one over the other.
I mean,
Just to keep track, there was no second, correct?
not yet.
I'll second it for discussion.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, I'm in agreement with Jordan only because we've used them before. They know our town. We've had success with them before. I don't know very much about the other companies, but I do know, they're a proven, commodity. So that's where I stand on why I agree with Jordan. Anybody else? Isaac?
Hey, but what are you doing?
Well, I guess while Isaac's still talking something else, let me just say this. Are you on?
Call me out.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were busy or whatever else. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I didn't know. I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay.
I was just screaming at my son for like walking out here with a towel on.
Tell him it's now recorded in public record.
That's what I told him. I said this is public record.
And it's going out live.
So what I was just going to say real quick is that, for Benzinger, I just want everybody to note, cost-wise, not only I'm not saying yes or no to them, but I'm saying that they are not only the most expensive listed, but they also do not include their own travel and their own expenses within that cost. The other two, they exclude costs of the applicants, but they do include their costs within there for their own personnel. The third one does not. So it says it's an open-ended bill for anything as far as their own travel, their own expenses, their own whatever. So we don't really know how much they're going to charge us in the end.
So Jordan, which one would you prefer to go to?
I prefer Colin. I mean, I think that Colin has the most experience that I know of as far as reaching out to people on a national basis. I think we want to open up nationally. We don't necessarily just want people that are locally looking for a position. I think what we want is someone who has experience, and I think that Colin found, Ron and brought many other people that had came from other states, and I think that's kind of where Bay Harbor is. Ron stayed with us for 10 years. I mean, it's an expense. Don't get me wrong, but it's not something we should be doing every year.
Okay, Josh.
I said my piece. And the thing is, look, all three. There's not that much difference, I think, as far as what they end up doing. I mean, Benzinger has done stuff for us in the past. They've all performed in some way. I wasn't loving Mercer's application because even though they're the lowest price, this might be nitpicking, but just the presentation itself was unprofessional. Grammatical mistakes all over the place, which makes me question whether or not they're going to be able to effectively perform in a professional manner, if that's their application itself. But at the same time, I don't like Benzinger's open-ended bill. I would like it if, in other words, that we have a set price
There was a
that we
fixed
know for their own costs. Now, obviously, again, travel for people coming in, that's something that we're going to pick up regardless. But I have a problem with the open-ended for the actual consultant.
Can I ask whoever made them? Can I ask whoever made the motion to amend it to approve Colin Benzinger's proposal only upon the condition that, since he's the highest price anyway, that their company's costs are included in the price?
Yep, I'll do that. No problem.
The second as well.
Thank
Yes.
you, Kelly. Kelly, do you have anything you would like to say, please?
Well, I don't think that the difference in price is really that significant if we can get better service and we have a tried and true company we've used before. I'm more concerned about the timeline. And, this was already an urgent matter in March rather, when we received JC's resignation. But now that we have additional emergency situation, I think we need to go with the most reliable, tried and true company, and that would be Benzinger.
Okay.
Can we clarify the motion? The motion is to approve Colin Benzinger as long as he includes his travel expenses. Is that what it was?
Any of his costs. The other proposals include all of the company's costs. Obviously, the cost of bringing in applicants for meetings and interviews and so forth, we're going to have to reimburse them for, I guess, hotel or airfare and travel expenses, if they're coming from out of town. But
And if they can
the
get here.
company's cost should be included at $26,000. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but whatever his price was, I don't want to start getting bills, as Josh said, for,
Exactly.
them flying in from all over the country. New Mexico, I think they have an office in. They need to include their costs.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Isaac?
No, I think the way the agreement is written, it says that his contract is a firm fixed price contract of $26,500, which includes all expenses,
No,
except the cost associated with bringing the finalists to interview with the town.
no, it's not. If you look at the fine print later on, I'm trying to find the page number because it's 200 something pages of this thing.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, the scary thing is I read through the stuff, but it's, there's actually a couple lines in there that actually specifically for him alone, for that firm alone, excludes their own travel and other, it says reimbursement costs for a whole bunch of different things. So that was the only one that had that exclusion. So that was the problem. I'm trying to find the page now.
But yeah, I think it's there. It continues. It says, and those associated with all consultant travel, meals, and lodging.
Yeah.
Except the cost. Yeah. All right. So that's a quick fix. Just,
Exactly. I just want a flat bill. That's it.
Right.
His
fee should not exceed $26,500, period. We'll pay for the cost of the candidate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we also get a clarification? I mean, I assume this shouldn't be all that difficult, but, maybe when they submitted their proposal a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, things were a little bit different. But, the likelihood of having a community meeting where we can meet and greet the applicants, that's probably not going to happen. One-on-one interviews, that's probably not going to happen. Getting the council together, as a proposal provides, to interview all of the candidates as a council. I mean, we'll probably be doing it on a Zoom meeting. I don't know whether that's going to affect their costs and whatnot, but I would like a clarification from them as to how they intend to deal with this crisis situation, in terms of, applicants and, I don't see people flying into, South Florida, to meet with us.
Yeah, then they have to quarantine for 14 days.
Right, you're right. So, I mean, this process is going to be a lot different than as set forth in their proposal, assuming things don't.
We'll reach out to Colin. We'll reach out to Colin and update the process.
Okay.
Right. And that might, that really should have an impact on the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should go down actually.
Right.
Great.
Right. Okay. So we
All
have
votes?
a motion and a second. So can you clarify your motion, Jordan, so that
it's
very clear?
to retain Colin Benzinger and Associates only for the city manager position, and that it's going to be a fixed cost, that it's inclusive of their whatever miscellaneous travel or expenses.
Okay. And Kelly, you're still seconding it?
Yes, second that.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, Marlene, poll vote, please.
Okay, you want me to do poll vote? That's fine. Councilmember Yaffe,
Or,
Councilmember Reed,
4.
Councilmember Salver,
4.
Councilmember Leonard,
4.
Vice Mayor Fuller,
4.
Mayor Bruder,
4.
unanimous.
Okay.
Okay, item number 5, discussion and possible action requested by Councilmember Leonard to implement a Town of Bay Harbor Islands stimulus package to our businesses and residents by 1, providing a business tax receipt, BTR refund to the local businesses that have an active BTR with the town, and 2, offer a 50% discount on summer camp fees to the town residents.
Yeah. On this item, I have to admit, in South Florida, small businesses run our economy, and Bay Harbor has a lot of small businesses, and we have a lot of families. And I was thinking about what we could do as a town to give back to the people that are hurting the most. Many of them happen to be our residents, and giving back 100% of the BTRs for home-based businesses, which is our smallest businesses, plus our restaurants, and 50% back for the other businesses within the business district, really gives back not a lot of money out of our pocket, but for them, they're really hurting. Every business is hurting. In addition, we may not even have a summer camp, but if we do, being able to make sure that parents that have been having their kids home for the last couple months have some type of program for the kids when they probably can't afford it also matters most. Considering that the times are tough, and I know that from a fiscal standpoint, we as a municipality need to buckle up. But at the same point, we need to remember where our money comes from. It comes from those very same businesses and restaurants. And that being said, when you think about how much money it is compared to how much our budget is, this is infinitesimal. And I think it's money going to the right place. So I'd like to.
My only concern is with the camp is that if you're going to do it, they have to show their driver's license that shows that they actually live in the town.
I agree.
Not a lease, not saying each
the real deal.
The real deal. Each child, if you register, show me your driver's license, not your lease or anything else.
Not your FP&L bill. I agree. They got to be our residents, but for our residents, I agree.
Anybody else?
Yeah. I have a question. What about if it were to be done, upon request? Because maybe some families are very comfortable and they don't need it to be almost like a scholarship or by request.
But some people are going to be embarrassed to ask.
Right. Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people are embarrassed to ask.
It's true.
Let me pipe in for a second. Here's my thought is I like the idea of obviously providing any assistance we can to our residents, but at this point, we don't even know that we're having the camp. And so my question becomes, we're going to have, I'm assuming more meetings, via Zoom or whatever else between now and then. I think the prudent thing would just before we decide whether we're going to give a discount on something that doesn't exist, that we actually can confirm that it is going to exist. I don't want to advertise that we're offering a discount on a program, then have parents potentially plan on the program and say, oh, because once they see there's a discount offered, that is an assumption that it is going to be there. And people are going to make that plan to have their kids there potentially for the summer. And then if we end up not having it, we've now created more of a problem for these parents. I'd like parents to plan the summer however they need to do it, because kids are going to be out of school regardless. They're out now. Between now and the next 30 days or so, we'll have a better idea as to whether or not there's even a possibility for a camp. So I don't see the purpose of doing it at this moment.
I hate to sound like a downer, but I think this, any program like this is way, way premature. I could almost guarantee you that we will not be having a summer camp. And, you want to talk about the summer camp existing. I'm concerned with broader things like whether the town is going to exist, at the end of this episode. So I think this is mega too early. And I think, we really need to see what our budget's going to look like in the aftermath of all of this. And then, see if we're even going to have a camp. I think if we do have any type of initiative to assist the business district, I think, just giving back the BTR fees is, it's almost inconsequential relative to what we probably will have to do in the future to bolster activity in our business district.
I want to say that I agree with what Isaac just said. The business tax receipt, I think the maximum maybe somebody would get back $120. A lot of people would get back probably considerably less than that. There's a lot of paperwork involved in processing these refunds. We have to get certain information from from the people who paid in that money in order for them to get a refund. We've got town personnel. We've got to process, some of this can be done remotely, but some of it's going to have to be done with town personnel coming into the office, printing checks, cutting checks, stuffing them. I'm just not sure that as laudable as that is, to support the business community and help them out any way we can. I'm just not sure how effective it's really going to be, and I am concerned about bringing people in unnecessarily. Well, not unnecessarily, but to do this type of task where they might not otherwise have to come into the office and continue working remotely. So that was one concern. And I also, I think that, I mentioned a couple of people earlier, before we were online, that our town website is excellent right now. There's a lot of valuable information for residents and for members of our business community. I want to make sure that all of our business community are aware of the PPP loan programs and the EIDL loan programs, which provide not only for payroll protection, but also loans for operating expenses, as well as on the EIDL. There's a provision for as much as a $10,000 grant, which business owners can apply for. And so a lot of that money it doesn't have to be repaid under certain circumstances. So I'd like to get the word out to the business community, to the extent that they're not aware of these programs being in existence, that this is something that maybe we can assist them with, or just, in terms of information and so forth.
Councilman, with regard to your point, I took the 880-page CARES Act and condensed it down to about 9 pages. I'm happy to send it to you, and if you would like to share that, you can certainly share that with folks.
That's helpful, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'd appreciate it. Let me pipe in for a second if I could as well. Again, Jordan, I do agree that, anything we can do to assist the businesses, we want to do, but my worry is as follows. I have no problem with providing some form of, depending on feasibility, as Bob was saying, I have no problem with providing some form of return of the business tax receipt to people that are either home-based business or that are retail, especially ground floor in Kane Concourse, people that are essentially really hurt. But we have quite a few, lawyers and accountants, sorry, Isaac, and Bob and I, but we have a lot of lawyers and accountants, and, there are some doctors and everything else that are in the upper floors on Kane Concourse that do not live here. They have their offices here, and the idea that we're going to be taking essentially Bay Harbor residents' taxpayer dollars and giving them to businesses that are owned by people that do not live here. My worry is these funds have to come from somewhere, and at some point we need to get these things back. I don't like the concept of later on creating some form of a tax from Bay Harbor residents to give this money to people that don't live here. So if you're talking about home-based businesses, if you're talking about people that are actually have their businesses that are affected by the retail, which is what we want to make sure we continue to have on King Concourse, or persons that actually live here, I'd be open to it. I don't want to give money back to businesses that may just have an office here and live somewhere else.
Yeah, but and I understand where you're coming from. The problem is I didn't think that you could literally just discriminate and say we're only giving it back if you happen to be a resident. There's many businesses on the higher floors that actually are owned or employ people who happen to live in the town. So it's at what point do you pick and choose? It was easier just to say we're going to give 100% for the home base because we know they're all residents, and 50% for everyone else other than the restaurants, because the restaurants are hurting the most, if anything. And to be honest, it's such a small amount of money. Most of those people that are going to get this money, they're going to spend it not just on payroll, but to be honest, they may even spend it at Costco or Publix or paying their bills. It's such a small amount of money, but to them, they need it. These are people that are hurting the most. And listen, if somebody is wealthy and they want to give their $120 back, let's provide an opportunity for them to do that. But I to be honest, I'll be the first one to volunteer if it takes manpower to help get these checks out the door. People are hurting today. They need the money today. And I think this is the least we can do for all these people, what they've done for us.
Jordan, I want to listen again. I want to help the small businesses. I want to see. I think we need to do what we can. But again, home-based businesses, if you want to give back the money, I don't have a problem with it. But when we talk about providing it to some of the businesses that are upstairs, a lot of those $120 is not going to make a difference to them. But the money comes from somewhere. It's not as if we're not the federal government. We can't print our own money. So the issue becomes later on, where does that money eventually come from? We actually have to get it back somehow. that eventually means it comes from our tax dollars. I have a problem with giving Bay Harbor residents tax dollars to people that don't live in Bay Harbor right now.
So what if they have a business on a higher floor, but they are a resident? We just say no?
If there's a way to do it, if we can do it in a way where they're residents, I don't have a problem with it. I do not want to give Bay Harbor tax dollars to outsiders right now. I want to make sure our current home-based businesses are the ones and other things that are owned by Bay Harbor residents.
Melissa, can we do that? Can we say the home-based businesses, anyone on the first floor, and then anyone else that happens to be a resident? Can that be done?
I would be very.
I don't think, based on the records that we have, Marlene, correct me if I'm wrong.
We can't determine that. We can't determine who lives here and who doesn't live here. We don't
Right.
get that information.
Right. So
How
Jordan,
about if we just did home-based for right
Business.
now? Businesses.
Well, the first floor too. The restaurants, anyone on the first floor, they're hurting too.
We would
I
have
don't
to
think
call
that-
each person. We would have to call each person to find out and get some kind of proof if they live here or they don't. I can't think of any restaurants that are, I mean, I might be wrong, but I can't think of any restaurant owners that live in town.
But you can't say that the restaurants aren't hurting. Everyone knows restaurants are hurting.
I did not say that. I
money.
said
no,
that-
Marlene, I think we're saying is if we did home-based businesses and ground floor retail. So it doesn't matter where they're owned by ground floor
But
retail.
but not doctor's offices.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
That's the
not
problem.
doctors.
I think you need to be very clear about what
Right.
you want us to do. There's a lot of ground floor businesses that are offices, that are doctor's office, Dr. Withers. There's a lot of that. So I don't know what your definition of retail is. Definition of retail is it's different depending on the person that's looking at it. And if I look at the code, it's very specific.
Jordan, maybe you need to refine this a little bit and come back with it when it's got something that, we can actually do. 'Cause
But
I just-
can I go back to the camp for a second? For 1 second. I understand we might not have a camp. We might have a camp for a month. But there are a lot of parents out there who are thinking, okay, I'm going to go back to work, God willing, in June. And let me tell you, a lot of parents are thinking, what are they going to do with their kids? How are they going to pay for them if they go back to school? We can say, if you're a Bay Harbor resident, and if we have a camp, so it begins to give those parents a little peace of mind, knowing A, there's a place for them to go, and B, I can probably swing half. I think that it's just a peace of mind thing. Even if we don't have it,
Right.
the idea of if, we can put it, if we have camp, even if we're going to have camp in August, it doesn't really matter. We're going to have to do something for parents when they go back to work.
We need
Even
to.
if it's August and school begins, God willing, back in August, then you know what? We need to have a camp all the way to the day that school begins. Okay? So
I agree.
I think that we can say it, and God willing, sooner or later we will have some kind of program for parents, for their kids, and even if it's in August, but it gives parents a peace of mind to know that A, we're thinking of them, B, we want to help them, and C, there's a place for their kids to go.
Right. Because if we don't have camp, they're going to live with Auntie Steffi. At least my kids are. My kids are going to live at her house. We got to have some camp. This is too much. My kids are too much.
So, Josh, Isaac, and Bob, and
How-
Kelly, what do you think?
I'm okay with saying that if we have a camp, if we do have a camp, that Bay Harbor residents can have a discount.
We have a motion.
We have to be very,
How about this? Let me make the motion for the 50% for camp if we have camp, and the 100% of the BTRs for our home-based businesses, and 50% off for our retail businesses on the ground floor, but 100% for the restaurants, and that's it.
the one thing, I would want to make sure that we don't just simply have a line that simply says, if we have a camp, we have to be exceedingly clear
Right.
that, you know, there is every chance there won't be. So I don't want to have residents get, you know, create that as their plan and assume that there's a, you know, 50-50 or 70-30 chance that there's going to be a camp, you know, make their plans accordingly and then be furious at us later on if we can't have the
No,
camp.
what
Be
we
really clear.
We'll be
I
clear.
think we can be very, very clear. If the, you know, if it is safe and, you know, we can word it in such a way, and they have to show proof of, you know, we need to make it very clear. You have to show proof of by your license, not your water, you know, no other thing, just your license to be able to get that discount. That needs to be very clear because we all know from school that leases are not the way to go.
Exactly.
Madam
Well, I'm
Mayor,
gonna vote, I'm gonna be voting against,
Yes.
just for the record, I'm
May
gonna
I
be
ask
voting
me-
against
excuse
it,
me, I'm
not
sorry,
because,
Isaac, I need, he made a motion, there was no second. Is there a second?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There we go.
So can you be clear again then? Because I didn't really
Okay.
understand your
All right,
motion.
let me say it again. So the 50% off for the summer camp, if we have a summer camp, and we'll be very clear, 100% of the
But wait,
I'm
you
sorry.
gotta clarify it. For
Okay.
Bay Harbor residents
for
only.
Bay Harbor residents only. That was the original item anyway. Only for Bay Harbor residents. 100% of the BTRs for home-based businesses. 100% of the BTRs for restaurants. And 50% for only ground floor retail, not professional, but retail.
all right,
I
I'm
have
gonna
a
vote,
question.
Yes.
Can you split these in two because maybe we want to handle them separately? I think in a month, we're going to know a whole lot more about the summer camp possibility. And then finding the BTR solution costly for the town as a whole, but not really giving that much, the $120. I think there have to be better ways to assist the businesses. When this first happened, I reached out to JC and we started helping promote the restaurants, for example, on our social media. Didn't cost anything. We let everybody know where they can get takeout, which restaurants were open, and they were very grateful for that. I reached out to them, but I'm just not seeing that this $120 is going to help, but I'd like to separate them if we could do that.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, separate the two.
Okay.
We have the motion, so.
We have a motion. Why don't we vote on it? And if you don't want it, then we can do another one.
Okay,
Why don't you amend it, Jordan? Because obviously you don't, you know. So amend, please. Separate them, Jordan.
All
You
right.
can do it.
All right. Well, I mean, I just, to be honest, I'm a little surprised because, you know, the camp is, you know, for families, it's important, but for businesses, particularly the small ones, you know, they're hurting the
I have
absolute most.
I have limited time. Can we just get this done, please?
Well, why don't we vote for it then?
All right,
How
so
about that?
vote.
All right,
All
vote.
right,
Whole
vote.
vote.
All right. Councilmember Saba,
Against.
Councilmember Yaffe,
Against because of the way the motion is set forth.
Councilmember Reed,
Against because they're combined.
Councilmember Leonard,
For.
Vice Mayor Fuller,
Against is combined.
Mayor Bruder.
4. Let's split them, Jordan.
All right, we'll split it now. All right, we're gonna do the first. We're gonna do for the kids' summer camp. That may or may not happen.
All right, make sure it says the 20, just for the year 2020.
Yeah, only for this year. This is not every year.
Okay, so Jordan, make the motion for
I'll make the motion.
2020. For this
For
year
this year,
only.
Bay Harbor residents only, 50% if we have a camp. They have to show the driver's license. They have to be real residents, not fake residents. No
I
fake.
will second it.
Can
There
I
we
make
go.
a comment about that, please?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people move, right? And they don't always rush to update their driver's license. I mean, we just had a situation, right? You know, in town hall where we're, you know, when we were able to do the mobile driver's license, I ended up doing mine by mail. But I'm just saying there may be legitimate residents at Bay Harbor Islands who just haven't updated their driver's license. So
But I gotta tell you, Bob, there has to be a mechanism to be able to check. And a lease and an electric bill isn't gonna do it because look at our school.
I know,
mean,
I understand,
they have-
Stephanie.
I have a solution for it, guys. Here's the thing. Anybody who has not updated their license, what we end up doing is they have to pay the full amount right now because we have to be specifically by a license. But if they come back within the next 90 days afterwards with the updated license, we'll refund the difference.
Yep.
And Josh, but let me just add to that. I think when this gets advertised on our website or wherever, it needs to be clear when this goes out that you must present a driver's license showing a Bay Harbor address in order to get the discount. So between now and, you know, whenever this goes into effect,
I agree.
Yep.
when it does go into effect, people will know in advance they better update their driver's license to get the discount.
I'd
If
like
they
to point out
can.
another layer of that.
Okay.
That once this is advertised, they can go online and they can change their driver's license. But we can look at the issue date. So maybe you want to look at an issue date prior to the announcement.
No, because I just got a driver's license in the mail the other day. It was just issued. But
Right.
I'm saying, if this advertisement goes out and somebody sees it and says, "Oh, you know, I haven't updated my driver's license. Let me go do it online," then
They're doing the right
their
thing.
driver's license issue date is going to be subsequent to the date of the announcement.
Well, then you might want to just scrutinize it if you're that worried about it. I don't think we're going to have that much fraud. Do you?
I think
No, I'm
staff has a mechanism to identify residents. Most of the
Okay.
people that come to the camp are repeat people that we know, staff knows, Regina knows, Lisa knows, they know who the residents are and who the residents are not. So the license alone, anybody, I could change my driver's license to the other.
So what do you suggest, Marlene?
Listen,
I
I would
suggest
suggest just
proof
use
of
your
residence.
driver's license and our staff
Let
knows
staff
the
take care of it.
residents.
But staff
Okay,
take
that's
care of it.
fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay.
All right, let's
So,
vote.
okay. Are we
Let's
doing
vote.
a poll vote or are we doing just
Yeah.
the aye?
You have to vote, poll vote.
Oh,
All right, poll. Marlene, please.
Okay, Councilmember Leonard,
4.
Councilmember Reed,
4.
Councilmember Jeffrey,
4.
Councilmember Saber,
4.
Vice Mayor Fuller,
4.
Mayor Bruder.
4.
Passes.
All right, last item, BTRs. Home-based businesses and restaurants. Can we go for that at least?
How about another type of assistance? Maybe
Right.
bring back at the next meeting.
Another, what do you mean another type?
Well, we talked about other kind of business development before, maybe assistance with advertising and promotion, something that might be valued at more than $120.
The problem is that for so many small business owners, they have so many different types of businesses, and a lot of them work out of their homes, or they work online, or they go to clients. I mean, for example, I have a tenant of mine, and they lost all their clients literally overnight, and they're not going to get them back anytime soon. You know, for them, $120, if they were a Bay Harbor, business, that would go to pay a bill or help pay for their payroll. For a lot of people, maybe they have 1099s and the PPP loan isn't going to cover it. There's a lot of other circumstances we're not aware of. At the end of the day, $100 doesn't seem like a lot of money for us, but for someone who's struggling, maybe even to pay their mortgage or their rent, this is money that is so needed.
But for us, it's 31,000.
Mayor Bruder?
Yes.
This is not a normal format, but we need to see if there's any public comment.
Okay.
There's
Is there
several
any
people
public
that have
comment?
logged in. There's people that have logged in. We're unmuting them now to see if anybody wants to make any statement.
Marlene, while
Make any
we're
statements?
doing that, can you divide up the cost of people who live in their houses or home-based versus retail on the retail?
Well, we have to look at all the applications again. We provided an analysis based on what Councilman Leonard asked us. Melissa and I will have to work together and do that. I cannot tell you, she probably can tell you, Melissa probably can tell you the amount for the home-based businesses.
But
I don't know that is going to be able to tell you what the retail is, because the definition of retail, we have to
Right.
go back and look and see.
So how much, Melissa, how much is the home base?
It's $4,201 at 100% refund.
Okay. I mean, I'm okay with doing the home base because Kelly, even if we were to do like advertising and stuff, we would be advertising for the retail on the ground floor versus people who live in their homes. I mean, we're not going to be advertising their businesses, but we would be helping the restaurants and other businesses more so on the ground floor. I don't know what your feelings are on that. Anybody?
First of all, I think that it's such a nominal amount, and I think it's creating an amount of work for staff that I'm sure that they have much, much more important things to do for the residents of Bay Harbor, to run our town, to do what they have to do. I mean, you know, this is putting a burden, administrative burden on our staff at a time where they need it the least. And honestly, $100 is negligible compared to the amount of economic misery I'm sure is there or is going to be there. I think this is not a good solution for Bay Harbor Islands. I don't think it's a good solution for the businesses. Most businesses have an SBA option. Even without, you know, payroll or whatever it is, most businesses can apply for an economic injury loan through the SBA. They have an advance of $10,000, which is significant. You know, I don't think we should put we shouldn't replace the SBA's job through our Bay Harbor Islands coffers when we have no idea what tomorrow is going to look like. So
Okay.
I'm against this on all levels. I don't even think we should even be considering anything like this. And I certainly don't want to burden my staff that has vital business to do on a skeleton staff to be going, you know, picking through BTR licenses so they can refund A and not refund B. I'm out. I am so against this. I can't tell.
JC, can you handle this? Is this possible for you to actually do? Or is this
Me,
not?
like me by myself over here?
No, I mean you and your staff.
This would not be JC's job. This would be Melissa and I working.
No, but I
together.
mean, JC's the manager. JC, is you and your staff capable of doing this, or is this
Well,
a Herculean task?
listen. You know that there is a stay-at-home order statewide, right? So that would require people coming in. It may or may not be comfortable, but people will have to come in, print checks, stuff checks,
But
mail
you do
out
it
checks.
anyway. You do a check run every 2 weeks anyway. Actually, every week you do a check run. You did a check run
Yeah,
last week.
but we do right now. We're it's very minimal the amount of checks that we're printing out, and this would be, I don't know. Last I checked, I mean it would be like 200 checks.
474.
Oh, 474.
Okay, why don't we figure out first if we even want to do this? So Isaac is a no. Bob or Josh, where are we at?
It's actually about 30 checks. I'm sorry, it's like 30 checks. For $4,000 at $120 a pop, it's like 30 checks. We can't.
For the home
mail
based
30
only,
checks?
yes. It's
Okay, Jordan, give Kelly an opportunity to speak, please.
Sorry.
Kelly.
Jordan, first of all, I think it's very nice that you want to do something to help, and I appreciate and respect that. That said, I think the assistance is so nominal and we're not getting a return on our staff investment. No ROI. And I think it's disingenuous that we're making it look like we're helping the businesses when we're really not. I can see, you know, later on that there's going to be a story about this and in the newsletter, and it's going to look like we did something to help, and really $120 isn't help. And I agree with everything that Isaac, Bob, Josh, that you said, made very good points about it. And for that reason, I just can't support it. I do, however, support some kind of a package, a significant assistance package for the businesses.
Okay, so let's do this, Jordan. Let's work on a more inclusive package that Kelly's talking about, where we're gonna look at advertising, we're gonna look at direct help to stimulate their businesses back when the time comes versus giving them $120. Is that
I'm
right?
just-
Can we clarify that all that will work nicely once we're out of the houses and spending money?
Right.
Not now.
Right, no.
No, I mean, that's not the point. The whole point of a stimulus is to help people pay their bills. advertising, providing advertising is not going to help every single business. It may actually help maybe some of the businesses, but you know,
That's just an example, though. It's just an example.
I know.
Jordan, let me say something. Here's the thing. I mean, we're talking about 30 grand or so. Here's the thing.
No, 4,000. I'm sorry.
No. Okay, but I understand. But I'm saying, but your entire original package at 30. I'm just going to say something here. What I think might be, and I'm taking everybody's points. I think the concept may be something along the lines.
What are you looking for?
Because $100 right now does not.
Oh.
I know
What
all
do
these,
you want?
but it's not going to make that much difference. The key is going to be once we are able to Paul, can you call for a second because he's.
Can't hear you. Hold on, Josh.
Okay, good.
1 second. Please, anyone, members of the public, please don't speak until you.
Can you mute it, Marlene? Marlene,
Jordan,
can't you mute it?
Jordan,
But here, what I,
will you withdraw your motion so that we can work on a more inclusive, better one? It's not going to
Melissa,
pass.
can I ask
Let me-
Melissa a question?
go
Melissa,
ahead.
Bob, go ahead.
Melissa, I mean, we're talking about $120. I mean, or Marlene, what is the range we're talking about here? Because not everybody pays $120, right?
If it's just-
Yeah,
oh.
home businesses is like 115, something.
What about restaurants? Just out of curiosity, I mean, what's the range of BTRs?
Restaurant is based on the number of tables or chairs, and so those range
Number of
to,
chairs serving area, yes. It's so different, it depends.
it could
Okay.
be
I
up
mean,
to
so-
three, the average is 366.
Okay. All right, I was just curious.
Okay.
But I mean, I tend to agree with what others have said that, I mean, this is a sort of a feel good and I appreciate anything that we can do for the business community, but I mean, it's a nominal sum. I'd rather assist people, applying for, have somebody in town hall, maybe if possible, that people could talk to, like, how do I find these SBA loans? How do I apply for the $10,000 grant? I think that's really useful because if a small business in Bay Harbor, such as the restaurants, can apply for a $10,000 grant, which to a large extent you don't even have to repay, it's much more meaningful. And I'd rather have, town personnel maybe working remotely with business owners, giving them that information.
Let me pipe in what I was going to say before we had the audio problem. Rather than putting our town, all of our town employees at risk right now, just for the purpose of printing a few checks, I think the original 30,000 or whatever, the number came out to be might be better used that once this passes and, God willing, if it passes, once it passes, I think maybe even if we did some form of, we use that money to pay for a street fair or something else here where all businesses, all Bay Harbor businesses, are put out in front of everybody else. We try and promote everybody's business, get it out there, try and bring people out. That, first of all, getting people out to come to see the restaurants will give the restaurants more money. Getting the home-based businesses where they can come out and, put up a table or whatever else and explain what they are to other people might bring in more business. There are better ways, just as Kelly and Bob and Isaac were saying, there are better ways to try and promote all these businesses out for additional revenue rather than 100 right now.
So I'm going to withdraw my second.
So we call for public comment now, please, so that we are all, if anybody wants to speak. Alba, can you unmute?
They're all unmuted. You took it good enough.
Does anybody want to make a comment from the public? I see there's about 5 or 6 people.
No?
No.
No comments.
Okay. So that's it.
All right.
Well, thank you, everybody, for
Move to adjourn.
second. All those in favor? Aye.
Stay safe, everyone. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe. Be well.
They can't hear you.